Welcome back, you guys. Today we are cutting a mullet. Welcome. First thing you're going to need is a comb, obviously, for all the combing. Next thing is clips for sectioning. Next thing is skizzers for the cutting. I think that's pretty obvious. Next thing you're going to need is a spray bottle so that their hair can be wet. It's easier to part that way. Shoes are necessities so you don't get hair on your feet. Next thing is a cape if you got it. If you don't, use a sweater you don't like because it's going to get hairy. And onwards and upwards. So the first thing we're going to do is start to section their hair. This is called a horseshoe parting because it looks like a horseshoe was placed on the top of their head. So you start at the top corners of their hairline and work your way around to the back where their swirl is. Now, mannequins don't have a swirl, but your client will have a swirl. So go right to the middle of their swirl and then part it as if there's a horseshoe sitting on top of their head right to their hairline. Just like this. Now we're going to get on to sectioning the sides and the back. So first you're going to get it wet. It just makes it a lot easier to part. It stays where it needs to stay. So you go from the top kind of corner there to behind their ear, making that a straight line. This way you won't cut any of the hair in the back. We're just basically separating the sides and the back right now so that you don't cut into that long hair because that's stuff you want to keep. That's probably the most important part of a mullet, obviously. So yeah, section that back. That's important. And the sections themselves are pretty important. Try and keep them as neat and clean and tidy as you possibly can. It'll just make your life a lot easier in the end. Use your other clip and get it up out of the way so that you don't cut into it at all. Now the next section that we're going to take is from the top corner of where you've made that section already above their ear and right to the front of their ear. That little triangle is going to be where you blend the very front that's short into the back that's super long. So just keep that separate from now. We're not going to cut that. We're only going to focus on that first front triangle first. So now that we got these 3 sections kind of on the sides, I guess there's 4 sections technically, we're going to start cutting into this front here. So now the first word you're going to learn is guideline. So we're going to make our first guide. Right up at the top here, we're going to figure out where we want the bangs, how long we want those to be. So we're thinking probably half the forehead length-ish. And we're going to just cut that is the first guide that we're going to make. So just make a little small snip here. And then you're going to comb the rest of it so that you can find out where you want the sideburns are usually like short. So we're going to go with the hairline on this mannequin and just follow that hairline right up into that guideline that you just made so that you can make a straight line, basically. You'll see it. Snippy, snippy, snip, 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 snip. Into the guide. Perfect. So now you know that you have long enough hair up at the top there and it's nice and short on the sides. So you didn't go too short. Now on a mannequin, their hair grows forward. So it's not super feathering back right now, but on a normal person, that's going to feather back. Now, the first thing I want to establish usually is getting it off their ears. Again, a mannequin is a little different because their hair goes straight out, but you're going to want to hold the hair kind of straight over the ear and then cut it just so that it's off their ear. That's going to be the first one that you make into that separate triangle section. Now, making this cut on the left side of their head can be sometimes hard because you're making a really angled cut towards their face, and you can kind of see my left hand's a little awkward there. It's because this is the hardest side. That's why we started with it first. Just take little pieces and don't hold the hair straight down towards their neck. Hold it more towards their face. And then you're going to get a really good angle which will make it nice and feathered back when they go to brush their hair back. Just taking small sections, don't overdo it. Always keep your guideline right close to my palm there. You can always see where my guideline is, which is the most recent hair that I cut. That's a guideline. So you're going from that. See how much of an angle that's cut at? We're angling it way, 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 way forward so that when you take that down and back, it's going to be super feathered and really layered. So the more layered it is, the better for a mullet, obviously. You want that flow, yo. So yeah, see now when I would brush that down and back, it's nice and layered. You can see that it's not like a straight line. That's the look that we're going for. Now, I just want it to like blend a little bit better into the back. So see that guide there? We're going to take that and just slide cut. Now, don't be scared when you slide cut. Make sure that your scissors are sharp. If they're not super, super sharp, new shears, you just got to kind of snip a little bit. I'll show you here. Kind of showed everybody. So now I'm going a little bit backwards here. So you take it right to the kind of heel of your blades and just slowly snip away. I'm not taking off very much hair, but this is what we call feathering a little bit with your shears. You're slide cutting it in there so that you don't have such a harsh short to long hair kind of ratio, if that makes sense. So yeah, I'm not taking a ton off. I'm just taking just a little bit. See how that's feathered? Ah, it's nice. That looks nice. That looks real nice. It's got that flow, yo. Alright, so now the next side. I went a little faster on this side just because we just went all over this. But again, don't forget about that guideline at the top when you're going to the other side. You just don't want to go too short up there because you like, it's all business in the front, party in the back, but like, you gotta make sure you have something to business, you know what I'm saying? Anyways, keeping in mind where the sideburn is. Don't want to cut into the hairline. It'll look really weird. This is a really good side to see. Shabam! See how short that is? It's perfect. Yeah, on a normal person that would flow back. But mannequins don't have very much flow. Now on this side, I'm just kind of cutting around the ear, just the top of it, because it's easier than holding your hand there. So I just wanted to make sure that it's off their ear. And then this side's a lot easier. You'll be able to see. I don't need to do all those weird hand movements. See how I'm just slide cutting a little bit? Just taking like the smallest snips and getting that massive angle going into the back, because you don't want to cut that length off, right? Just small, tiny little snips. Just taking a little bit off of time. Don't want to take too much off, or else I have no hair to blend in. We're blending those super short sides into that really long hair. And it's a small space to do it in, so you just gotta take little snips at a time. Get a good angle. Okay, I think I'm gonna move this mannequin to a different angle just so you guys can see me blending the top in a little bit better. There we go. Just can't really see it very well with the shirt on. Hold on. Boom! Oh, shit, didn't know this was Magic Channel. Now, we are going to unclip the top and start blending in those sides to the top a little bit, because it is party in the front. I mean, business in the front, party in the back. So, let's get on to the business here. With too much pate. So I just split down the middle just to make it a little easier to control all the hair. Get that shit out of the way. Alright, now after you've kind of wet down the top there, try and find your guideline there. See those little guys in the front that we made already? Okay, so now we're going to make a part in the front, about 1 inch of the bangs, and get all the other stuff back. Just so it's easier to control. It's way easier to control this way. So you're pulling that stuff down, and you're going to always keep your eye on that guideline. It's right by my palm there, if you see it. Now, when you cut into that, keep in mind how long that you want your bangs, so to speak. Nobody ever brushes a mullet forward usually. They usually brush it back. So the fact that we're making this so blunt in the front is totally fine because it's never going to be combed straight down. It's going to be combed back. So the fact that this is so straight and blunt in the front, that's totally fine. Now I move the head like this so you can see the guideline at the very front where my fingertips are. So you always want to keep in mind the guidelines. Okay, this is why pretty much every time you snip, you make another guide. We are making another guide right now in the middle of the hair. That's why we make sure that it's perfect. You see that little, yeah, buddy. So we're basically making a mohawk right in the middle. It's about an inch parting that I've made, or section, I guess you could say, that we're cutting all the way to the back of the top section that we made. It's basically behind the ears all the way up on the top of the head. That's how far I've taken it. You'll be able to see. I'll point it out later. Now, this is where I'm going to point it out. Okay, so that section that I took on the top of the head hasn't gone further back than what the back of the ears are. You'll see what I mean in a second here. See where the top is there? It doesn't go past the back of the ear. We don't want to cut into that length in the back. Don't worry. We will feather that out and blend it all in eventually. But right now, we're not doing that. We're just focusing on the top section, top front section. Now I'm going to pull up the sides so that they match the top. And my fingers are going to be flat on the top of his head. And we're going to pull it up into that guideline that we just created. See that guide? You can see it poking up. Snip, snip, snip. Get that off. When the hair's long like this, sometimes it can be kind of hard to show people, but hopefully you guys can see it well. I just stabbed my finger. It happens so much, don't even notice anymore. So I'm basically bringing all that stuff to just one spot on the head. Eventually I'm going to move it so you can see. Yeah. There we go. So see how straight across my fingers are? It's like if somebody were to put a book on the mannequin's head and then lift it, it'd be straight, right? You want to make sure that that is straight and level with the top of their head. Just like that. And then we snippy, snippy, snip. Oh, you can't. Need to adjust so you can see. There we go. Perfect. Yes. Straight. Snip. Awesome. And you can see that guideline that we made right in the middle. That's perfect. Cool. And you're going to bring all that hair up from the sides right up to the top. So we're basically making a square shape. So if all their hair were to go straight out from their scalp, like if you were to touch one of those electricity balls and your hair just goes straight out, it would be kind of square on the top. It would be super flat on top, and then it would taper down onto the sides. So you'd have a little bit of a corner there, but that's okay because a square haircut is usually what we want anyways. It has more of a masculine kind of feel to it. Now, to get all of it even, I have pushed it all to the one side and the back into the middle, but you kind of move your fingers forward up towards their forehead every time you pull up more from the side, and you'll get that whole top even. See, the guideline is still there, but then this stuff's too long, so you snip that off. And you just keep on combing it different ways to make sure that that is straight and flat on top. It's a bit of an angle. Snip that off. And that'll feather back all nicely. Pretty happy with myself there. On this side, we're just going to do the same thing. So taking that inch parting at the front, and now we want to keep in mind how long it was on the other side for the bangs. So I'm going to grab that as a start of my guideline. You can see it right there on my palm. I want to keep that stuff in mind because you don't want to pull their hair down and have a weird step in it. So there's the other guideline on the one side. that we've made this part. And then we definitely don't want to forget about the sides either, right? So when we take this, you can see on the fingertips that is shorter than the stuff that's close to my palm. So we're just going to even that out and make them connect. And there's going to be a little bit of a corner there. Get that guy. Okay, cool. Now, again, it doesn't matter that it's blunt when it's pulled forward because nobody ever pulls it forward. They pull it back. Now, excuse me, sorry. So now, see that part behind the ear? Never mess with the back of the hair. Not yet. We'll get into that. But right now, we don't need to get into that. So I'm making my guide again, keeping in mind the other side too. Because you don't want to have two different sizes of sides. You don't want them to be longer on the left side than it is on the right, on the top. So I'm making this guideline according to the front. And then you'll see in a second here, I kind of pull it back a little bit and matched up with the other guy. Like you can see it right there. I'm just evening it out with the other side so we don't have a weird step. Because again, if he were to put his hand on a electricity ball and his hair were to all go out, you'd be able to see that little step there. If you looked at it from this angle, you'd be able to see that it was a little shorter on the one side. So I sped this up just so you guys don't have to listen to me talk through the whole thing again. But you'll see I'm basically doing the exact same thing. Fingers are flat like a book. I'm making this whole top even. Now it ends up being a little longer on the one side. And then I even it out, and I'll show you that. But I'm just kind of getting the bulk off because, man, this hair is like long on top. So I was just kind of trying to get the bulk of it out. I'm kind of, you can see it's a little longer on the one side. And I can tell right there. So snip, snip, snip. Get rid of that stuff. And because you've already kind of made it straight, it doesn't take much more to get that all off a little bit more. All right, so we're going into the back. See the difference of how long that stuff is in the back and how short it is on the top now. So what we're going to do is cut a massive angle. So instead of having your finger straight like that, you're going to elevate the back of your fingers so that you can get a really good angle, because you want to keep the majority of that length in the back, but you just want to layer it so it's not this like super layered top and sides, and then the back is like super straight and not layered and weird. You want that flow, yo. Yeah, get that flow. Yeah, shimmy, 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 shimmy. Get that flow. That back part is going to be so layered. It's going to look so nice. See how it's like not layered at all? Yeah, get rid of that. Get rid of all that weight. Anyways, this is how you get a voluptuous mullet. Thanks so much for watching, you guys. Like, comment, and subscribe if you like it. And we will see you next time. Peace. Creepy.